All right, good morning, everybody.
All right.
We're ready to go here. So we've got, as I mentioned before, we've got a special guest today with everything that's going on with the stimulus package, with the SBA, whether for loans for small businesses, and well, there's a bunch of stuff. A lot of that is having a direct impact on independent contractors as well as staffing. So I've asked the CEO of Timberline Bank, Jim Pedersen, super smart guy, also a friend of mine, which probably means he's not as smart as I thought he was. One of the things that I really like about his model is that he's got banks both in resort markets and traditional markets. So I think he's going to be able to answer some questions that are going to be really relevant to all of us. Jim, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, thank you guys. The opportunities for banks right now is to help our customers buy time. We know that this economy will recover, that they will get through this, but in the short term, you know, how are we going to make sure that they're around when this gets over and the economy starts to take off? So right now at Timberline, we're actively working through our customer list to reach out to each of them with some lifelines. Our goal is to work with our customers to make sure that they have 12 to 18 months worth of cash or availability to cash to make sure they make it to the other side of this. We don't think it's going to last anywhere close to that long, but we feel that giving our customers the peace of mind that they could weather it for that long will allow them to go out and really concentrate on their business and not only surviving this, but maybe finding a way to thrive within it. We don't want you worrying about where the next paycheck, so to say, is going to come from. We want to make sure that that's ironed out for all of you. A big part of our bank's philosophy has always been let us do the banking and handle that for you, and you go out and you run your business. And here's a real opportunity for us to show that. If we can go show them how they can make it through the next 12 months, even in the worst of times, we think that'll give them the confidence to go out and handle this great. And it's actually kind of fun when we get done talking to our customers to hear the relief that they have, that's one less worry that they're going to have out there. There are a lot more to do it, but at least they can let us focus on that. So kind of walk you through what we're doing with them. We're calling them up, and step one is we're deferring all their payments for 90 days, allow them kind of get their feet on the ground and make sure the short term is taken care of right away. Then we're working with them on cash flow projections. Hopefully they have some baseline ones that they start at the beginning of the year. If not, we have to help them move through that quickly and then start stressing that income at different levels. What would a 20% decrease in net and gross income look like? What would a 40%, what would a 50% look like? And what steps would they take to make sure that expenses went along with that? The bank is willing to throw in and help with that, but if we're the only steps you take, it's going to be a tougher outcome for you. So we want to talk about those steps beforehand, and we also want to put in the triggers. You know, when income levels drop to X, what is the plan? You know, what expenses are we going to cut? Who are we going to eventually have to lay off if we stress it enough? So that we have that plan organized and ready to go, and it's not fly by the seat of your pants, and it can be done in an organized, structured way where everyone can be educated on what you're looking at and how to get there. And those cash flow projections should show us a net effect. You know, how much money are you going to need in a worst case scenario to make it the next 12 to 18 months? And the third step of that is for the bank to sit down with you on that and figure out what's the best way to help finance that. Do you have the cash available for that, and what steps the bank can do? A couple of different programs the SBA is working on. I just heard before this meeting started that it actually passed through the House, so we do have another step on that. And we think we have the majority of those programs that I'll review with you in a minute on the direction of those. But with that, you know, then we have our worst case scenario shortfall taken care of. We're calling that more the behind the glass type of loan to only break in case of emergencies. And hopefully in 30 or 60 days, they're just paying that loan back. They never used it and didn't need it. But if they did, it's there and it's available to them. Before I jump into the programs, does anybody have any questions or thoughts or stuff they're hearing from their customers pertaining to those subjects?
Yeah, I've got one question that I've been getting a lot that maybe you might be able to address. So the stimulus package, there's been some confusion as to who this is really intended to help. Is it just these business owners and the aviation and Boeing and that kind of stuff? Or how far down the trickle or the economy does this really impact?
Yeah, there are a lot of programs for the large banks out there, and they're looking to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, to kind of get this down to the small business owners. I think typical the people earning W-2 income have been taken care of. The Boeings of the world have been taken care of. But what about the majority of the businesses in this economy that fall in the middle? And the SBA has some interesting programs out there, and I'll jump into those in a minute. Any other questions before I jump into those?
When we talk about small businesses, do the independent contractors, so real estate agents being independent contractors, do they qualify for some of these programs?
Absolutely. The SBA traditionally has a lot of rules on who qualifies and don't qualify, but the direct program through the SBA will allow, they're encouraging everybody, every small business to apply, and they're trying to do their best to get this money out to everybody. Very easy to qualify for that program, and has some interesting aspects to it.
Is this something that the money will quote unquote run out? So it's like a first come first serve basis. Do they need to jump on it if they're going to do this?
They should jump on if they're going to do this. There are limits that they've appropriated that will probably be increased. More than the limits, the SBA is not traditionally the fastest way to get to income. So applying quicker will be better than waiting. Eventually, there's going to be a line that you're a queue that you're put into, and so quicker the better. I don't think they're going to run. I think they'll add more money to it as the need arises. I think it's more timing than running out of cash. But either way, apply quick.
So we have a question. It sounds like the SBA will defer payments for 6 months and add them to the end of the note due date. Do you know about that?
Under the Paycheck Projection Program, that is an automatic. The question is it 6 months or 12 months? Both are talked about out there, and I haven't seen the final version of the bill to see which that is.
Okay, and another question is, how do we jump on and apply or direct people to apply for this?
So I will send out an email with everything that I'm about to talk about with these individual programs, and included in that we'll have the email address that you go to apply. Okay, I'll jump into the programs that they have out there and what I know about them. And again, what I've been told is even after this goes through the House and President Trump ultimately signs this, they've asked for 2 weeks to dial in the details. I'm not sure who gets to do that. It'd be like close a loan today, and then 2 weeks from now I'll tell you the details. But apparently the SBA is allowed to do that. So if any of this changes, I'm giving you the latest and greatest information I have, and apologize for any inaccuracies that happened to the final. So there's two main programs out there. One is run through the banks, and one has gone directly to the lenders or directly to the SBA. So I'm going to talk first about the Paycheck Protection Program. This is the one that's run through the banks, and it's a 7A program. They've appropriated $350 billion to support these loans. It goes to any employer that has 500 employees or less. There's a formula that we run on that determines the amount that you're eligible for, and it has to do with your payroll costs over a certain amount of time. That's been talked about from 2 months to a full year's worth of payroll expenses. A lot of things fall under that, including your insurance and all that type of information. That calculation more to come, but it looks like it will allow a sizable amount of money to go to these employers. They're waiving all their fees on there, and they're 100% guaranteeing it. Usually there's a 3% fee to the SBA, and it's a 75% guarantee, which means a $100,000 loan, the bank still has a $25,000 exposure. The SBA covers 75. Now a $100,000 loan, they will write a check to the bank if anything goes bad on that. So it really opens up our availability to get this out to people that need it without fear of collection. The small business must have been in operation as of February 15th, 2020, so they don't want you to start a business. It requires the eligible borrower to sign a good faith certificate that they have been infected by the COVID-19. The maximums increase on some of these lower levels. Looks like the maximums were $350,000, and now they'll go up to $1 million on these programs that they're talking about. This is a unique one. I've never heard this on SBA, but the borrower will be eligible for debt forgiveness equal to the amount spent by the borrower during an 8-week period after the origination of the loan. A lot of rhetoric about how that exactly will be calculated, but it sounds like they're going to send a check to the banks for 2 months worth of that debt, or for 2 months worth of your expenses, not that debt. So that calculation will have a lot of detail to it. That comes from the government, so I can't really speak on how dialed in that is, but they actually plan to forgive some of this debt. So that's pretty shocking to me. I've never heard of an SBA program with that. That's the major details. That's the biggest difference on the Paycheck Protection Program, is the debt forgiveness on that. There's also an economic injury disaster loan. This is the one that's direct through the SBA. So I'll just hit on the highlights, and then at the end I'll give you the address so you can go look at more in detail. But these are loans up to $2 million. They fund payments of fixed debt, payroll, accounts payable, and any other bills. Interest rate they're quoting at this time is 3.75%. If you show you're eligible, you can get up to a 30-year repayment on that. And again, that borrowers work directly with the SBA. I'm sure there are lots of details that I'm missing on that, but what they're talking about is they're not requiring the personal guarantees that they typically do. They're not requiring the collateral they typically do. Very, very easy loan to get under their standards. Now, again, they're not very fast. You know, I would count on 30 to 60-day approval on this before you actually got your cash. And everything I've read, I have not found the debt forgiveness portion on this loan compared to the 7A that they're doing with the banks. So that would be the biggest difference between the two. They're kind of made for the same thing. One's direct and one's through the banks. There's a couple other SBA programs that are always out there that people should know about. There's some emergency grants if you're made eligible. There's a loan payment subsidy, and then there's even a SBA bridge loan. So if you realize it's going to take way too long to get this type of loan to save your business, they have a $25,000 basically signature loan that you can get through the bank that will help bridge the gap between today and getting the SBA loan. So more to come on that one. They don't have all the details dialed in, but that program is also being talked about out there. Again, I'll send this whole sheet of information I ran through here along with the SBA website to go to apply, but we're recommended that every one of our customers go apply now, get in line, and maybe they end up using it, maybe they're offered it and they turn it down, but getting there and getting applied is really, really important.
This is all stuff that you've got people in your world that this is confusing. Again, more uncertainty. The fact that the government is saying, hey, listen, we're going to step in and we're going to put some things in place in the event that this does get strung out and that we do have economic impact. But it includes everything. Like there's the lunch program for kids. We've all talked about this on these calls about how so many kids get their meals from school, and the fact that school's not here. What are those kids doing? And there's money in there for that. There's money in there for other charities. There's certainly money in there for different governments. The one that I thought was kind of funny as I was reading through that, I've got a summary that I'll forward you all of the bill, but there was something in here for the arts, $75 million for the arts, which I'm pretty sure nobody's enjoying right now anyway. But lots and lots of programs in here that you all should definitely make yourselves aware of. Jim, so I'm going to send them that email. If somebody wanted to follow up and get more information, who should they be calling within your organization?
I'll include my contact information. They can direct questions directly to me, and if it's customers, I can get them in the right spot.
All right. Well, again, you guys, I'll send out an email as soon as I get it from Jim with this information and contact information, so you have a resource of somebody that you can pick the phone up and have a conversation with. Jim Pedersen, CEO, Timberline Bank. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a huge help for everybody, and obviously crazy, uncertain times, and you're giving us a little calm and certainty in it. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.